go, was actually found in the Microsoft Outlook PST. Now, some of you probably already know that the Outlook PST is the file that keeps all of your email, your calendar appointments, and contacts when you use Microsoft Outlook, the email program. Now, so what we do is we go to the email program and take a look at this. You see this message 0005 right here? And if you'll notice, it's got a red X on it. Now, what this red X means is that file was already deleted. But remember, we just talked about, even though they deleted it, they only deleted it in the table of contents, not actually on the hard drive. So our forensic software shows that it was deleted with the red X, but it was recovered with using our forensic software. So we see that the email was deleted. We can actually see the email, that the date and time and who sent it. And this was sent from somebody named Marilyn Dirtbag. And here is the email attachment. So you can see that this deleted email had a joy.zip attachment, right? This is a compressed file that had 6 pictures inside of it. And then, of course, you can actually see the message here itself. It says, buddy, here's the pics from last weekend. I felt like a king on President's holiday. So that's kind of saying this is when we committed the crime. But even more, now we want to use more forensic evidence. With every email, anything that happens on the internet has an IP address, right? An internet protocol address. So one of the things that we would want to do is, looking at this email, you can actually look at what's called the mail headers. What you're looking at here is the mail headers, and when we zoom in on this, what you see here with this X originating IP, this email was sent from hotmail.com, and Hotmail includes the actual IP address of the computer that was connected to the internet when they sent this email. So this could be their email, their IP address to their house. It could be to the Starbucks. It could be to the hotel, or what have you. And what we would do is we would use something like domain tools or something to look up who owns that IP address. And then we would go to that internet service provider and say, who had this IP address at this date and this time? It also shows just below that what was the email address of the person who sent the email. And here you can see that this email was sent by mdhosebag@hotmail.com. Now, here is something that I just want to make a note of. If they sent this email using Hotmail, and what if you asked Hotmail, who owns this email address? And they came back to you and said, the person that registered Hotmail, or mdhosebag@hotmail.com, they put in as the name Mickey Mouse at Walt Disney World, Florida. A lot of our investigators will say, well, that's fake information, because we know Mickey Mouse didn't send this, right? And they stop because they say, well, this was a fake email address. But what's important to remember is there's more information there. You should be asking the internet service provider or the mail provider, what was the IP addresses that connected to Hotmail with this account to either send or receive mail. Now you will get the IP address of who logged into that web-based email account to send this. Now, maybe they were hiding themselves when they sent this particular email, but if you look at all the IP addresses that they've logged in to that account from, in our experience, they always make a mistake and log in from work or home to either check or send email, and that will let you know who it was. So, again, good investigative techniques. And as I told you, this is just using domain tools to look up the IP address. And we already showed you that. So now, rather than just having a picture, we now have the email, and we have the zip attachment that included all the other pictures. So even if we had not found all 6 pictures, because we use this investigative methodology, we've got all 6 pictures, plus we have the IP address that sent the email and the email address that sent the email. So this is kind of following the trail of evidence where it came from. Now, is there a way that we can tell if he opened it, whether he even opened that email? Well, the easiest way people think of how do you know if somebody opened the email is timeline analysis or a read receipt. Well, with timeline analysis, hold on. Sorry, something happened to the pictures there. Don't know what that was. There we go. One of the easiest ways to tell if they opened it is when did they receive the email, and then look at what happened on that computer after he received that email. And if you look at message 006, you see that he sent an email that said thanks, that he had received that original email. Now, what if he just hit reply and didn't actually read it? This is, remember before I was telling you that if you were investigating a case where 2 people were sending emails back and forth to each other, but the judge said, well, I only want you to look at the email files on this computer. Here's the reason why that's dangerous and you don't want to do that. Take a look at this. Here's that same, can you see that highlighted there? This is the same exact text. Buddy, here's the pics from last weekend. I felt like a king on President's holiday. That's the exact same email, but this time, this is actually located in the temporary internet cache. Now, a lot of people will initially think, well, if an email was in temporary internet cache, that's because they looked at it using their internet browser. That's not true. What happens is, most email today is written in what they call HTML, hypertext markup language. That's the same language that they use to create web pages. And the reason why emails are written that way, and you don't even know as your user that you're creating a document like that, but you want to be able to have different types of font and different colors in your email, maybe a different color signature block, all that's done by your email program, like Outlook, in HTML. And when your email program receives an email written in HTML, it sends it without the user knowing to the default web browser that then translates that HTML and sends it back to your email client or your email program, and it displays it to you. So now, even though this email was sent or received in Outlook, the Outlook mail program, there's a second copy in temporary internet cache. And the only way this evidence would be in the temporary internet cache is if he actually opened the email to look at it. That's when it would have sent it to the web browser. So now, question is what if he just received the email, but he says, I didn't open the attachment. I didn't look at any of that attachment. We have that a lot. Well, here's one of the ways that you can find out whether he opened a document, an attachment, a picture, a Word document, or what have you. That in Microsoft, in the Microsoft program, the Windows program, anytime you open a file, whether it's a picture, whether it's a Word document, a PowerPoint, an Excel, anything that you open, Microsoft actually creates this file called a link file. And here you can see there's a file called joy.zip.lnk. Now that is a link file showing that he actually opened that attachment called joy.zip. And if you look at, this is our forensic software here called FTK, if you look at that link file, here's what you see. That joy.zip was actually opened on the E drive. So what he did is he saved that email attachment called joy.zip to his E drive, which is like his thumb drive, and then opened it on his thumb drive. And this link file actually proves that he opened that file from that location. And it tells you down here at the bottom exactly what day and time he first opened that file, and the last access time will be the time that he last opened that file. So now link files will prove that he actually opened a file, when did he open it, and when was the last time that he opened it. So that gives you fantastic evidence that the file was just not on his computer, but he opened the file. Now, this is another link file. Remember, we looked at that picture. It was called Bond 3. This link file is the link file showing that he opened that picture called Bond 3 that we found. And when he opened it from the C drive, the My Joy directory, Joy subdirectory. So this link file, just .lnk, the link file, proves that Bond 3 JPEG was actually at that location, C:, Joy subdirectory, when he opened it at that exact date and time. Now another thing, searching. You can take somebody's computer and you can search through that computer and find all the Google searches and Yahoo searches and Bing searches that they've done on any search engine with any web browser. And the reason why is there's a signature for every search term that you do on the internet. And these are the examples of the signature. So every time you do a Google search for anything, you can actually search the entire hard drive with forensic software for the word search $HL equals, and you will come up with every single search word that they've done. And here, this is an example of all the searches that in this case, that he did. You can see he did searches for the word date, rape, drug, scopolamine, which is a drug that knocks you out, and a memory suppressant, purchase scopolamine, and then look down at the very bottom, you can see that after she went to the police, he did a Google search for erase computer evidence. So he's going to try to get rid of his computer evidence. Now, a very important thing when doing forensic analysis on internet searching or internet activity is you want to tell the whole story. It's always very important that you don't just say, oh, he went to this website. You want to say, how did he go to that website? Did he first do a Google search and then go to that website from clicking on a Google search link? You can find that out by analyzing all the forensic evidence in his web browser. Now, something else, this next part is not in your book because we just found this information. I wanted to share this with you. Internet Explorer 8 has a new feature that sometimes your browser, you're surfing the web and it will crash, it'll close without you realizing it. It just closes down, something happens with the program. Well, what Microsoft did is they came up with this program called the Trusted Computing Environment, where they want to make your computer system more stable because people were complaining how Microsoft programs would crash and it would cause them problems. One of the things that they did is they created this thing called session recovery. What session recovery is when you're surfing the internet, for every tab that you have open in your web browser, it's actually creating a stream. It's called a structured storage view, a stream of information about that web page that you're on. So basically what I'm telling you is when you're surfing, particularly with Internet Explorer, everything that you're surfing on your web browser, including each tab, is being copied in two locations, not just your temporary internet cache, but there's this new area called structured storage view.